Well, the news has finally happened. Juan Soto and the New York Mets are in an agreement on a 15-year, $765 million contract, which includes no deferred money and has escalators that can reach above $800 million. Hi, everybody. I'm Nick Morganson here from the Empty the Bench Podcast Network. Just fix that banner a little bit here, a little bit of a typo. You just fix that out really quick. There we go. Am I surprised by this deal? No. Am I surprised by the owner on the other side of New York in the Queens area? No. Steve Cohen, who sits on $21 billion in net worth and sitting on a hedge fund, is the reason why the Mets were able to make this deal. Because Steve Cohen sits on an unlimited amount of wealth. Now, don't get me wrong, the Steinbrenners have money. But we all know that Hal Steinbrenner, was not comfortable. And we'll go over some numbers, and I have final offers from some of the other teams in a minute. But if you're expecting me to come on here as a Yankee fan, number one, and say that I'm shocked by this, I'm not shocked at this at all. If you want to leave a comment or a reaction, please do so. I'll try to put some comments up on the screen as I'm doing this live stream. But this is Scott Boras to a T. Super agent Scott Boras. Or as Tom and I like to refer to on Empty the Bench, BS syndrome. Bullshit Scott Boras. I mean, we knew that this was going to drag out and that Boras was going to drag this process out to get the most amount of money. There was never going to be a hometown discount for the delusional Yankee fans out there that thought that he was going to go back to the Yankees for less money. If you look at the teams that were left in the process, there was 5 left. The Yankees, the Mets, the Red Sox, the Dodgers, the Blue Jays. Now, the teams that were being... And did I say the Dodgers? The Dodgers. So, but looking at all the teams that were left, the Dodgers, who are basically spending like drunken sailors, because you have Guggenheim Partners, which is another hedge fund, completely running the Dodgers. So they were just going to keep drunkenly spending money because they can keep getting more money out of that hedge fund. So to them, it didn't matter. And then you look at Toronto and you look at that whole situation. They could have spent money up the wazoo. The Rogers family and all that, they could have spent money forever. They could have competed right up there with the Mets and the Dodgers. But I meant to say the Dodgers... Blue Jays competing up there with the Dodgers. Then you have the Mets with Steve Cohen, who I said $21 billion. I've heard all this discussion, and I would say even 5 to 10 years ago, you wouldn't have seen these obscene contracts for $800 million. Have we seen obscene contracts? Yes, including in Yankee history. When A-Rod got the $300 million contract after he opted out, after the Yankees told him not to opt out. Excuse me. And they went back to the table anyway, and they still signed him to a deal. So, as much as these contracts are albatrosses, these teams think it's still a good idea to sign these insanely long contracts for obscene amounts of money. Now, I get Juan Soto is 26 years old, and he'll be 41 at the end of this contract. But was it really worth making this deal, making this contract? Is it worth the $51 million AAV or average annual value per year to spend on one guy? Now, like I said to Cohen will go out and spend on top of this. So to him, the $800 million is a walk in the park. To other teams, this is not a walk in the park. Now, there is other information that came out as well, and this is what's blowing my mind at the moment. So, per Mark Feinsand, the Yankees' final offer to Juan Soto was 16 years at $760 million. That's a $47.5 million AAV, average annual value. The Mets' offer was for $51 million average annual value. Are you telling me that that he walked to the Mets for an extra $5 million? Is that what you're telling me? The money? He's more worried about what's in his bank account than trying to win? Are the Mets really ready to contend and win now? I don't know if they are. They had a good year. They made it to the second round. Their pitching's a mess. And don't tell me signing Clay Holmes, who fell off the face of the planet in the Yankee bullpen, and they want to put him in the starting rotation. You can't tell me that made your pitching better. Now, if they take this deal and then they go out and Steve Cohen goes and signs Corbin Burns or Max Fried, excuse me, then we can have a different discussion. But 15 years, $765 million with escalator clauses to be up to $800 million. First of all, no player is worth $800 million. Go ahead, yell, scream at me all you want. These deals are ridiculous. And now we're hearing all these discussions that the owners want to discuss a salary cap and a floor. And this could be a massive sticking point if we get to a point where these deals, I mean, if Juan Soto's $800 million, what's the next big player going to want? Are we talking about $1 billion contract? Possibly? For the first time in professional sports? And I don't know. These deals are outrageous. And if you thought it was a problem now, keeping fans watching the sport, if you're going to keep giving out these albatross contracts, and I'm going to keep using that word because that's how ridiculous these contracts are, you're not going to be able to afford to go to a baseball game. Imagine now what Mets tickets are going to be worth. Imagine what those concessions are going to be worth. And the joke I make all the time at Yankee Stadium. Imagine what those chicken buckets are going to cost. Because now you have to offset that $800 million. Or is Steve Cohen going to write that off by himself? Which he probably could. But got to make back that $800 million somehow. And my other question is, now that the Mets have gotten Juan Soto, what happens to Pete Alonso? Because Pete Alonso is out on the market looking for big money. You just spent $800 million on Soto. Are you going to go spend $200 million for Pete Alonso? I wouldn't. I wouldn't spend that money. It's an insane amount of money. Now, the Yankees have decisions they got to make. Okay? Where are they that $760 million that they had set aside to sign Juan Soto? Where are they going to go next? Do they go to Corbin Burns? Do they go to Max Fried? Those are two discussions. And actually, we'll go to that per Brandon Cuddy of The Athletic, who covers the Yankees for The Athletic. Said that the Yankees had Zooms with Corbin Burns and Max Fried, two of the top pitchers on the pitching market. Go out and sign these two guys. If you have $760 million you were going to spend on Juan Soto, go out and make big offers and try to bring those two guys in to fix your starting rotation. The Yankees starting rotation was a mess. And Garrett Cole was injured last year. And you still have, 4 years on that contract? You basically played hardball for him not to opt out because of his injuries and everything. Sure. But you need more than just Garrett Cole if you're going to compete. So they're going to have to go and get Corbin Burns and Max Fried. And they're going to have to go make some other moves. They need to fix this infield. Do they go out and get Teoscar Hernandez? That's a name I heard on the market. Or Santander, who was on the Orioles. Excuse me. But they now have that $760 million that we're going to go spend. Go spend it on 5 or 6 players. And make the money work for you. I'm still struggling over the fact that it's not just that it was $765 million. I'm struggling over the fact that there's incentives and escalator clauses in this contract that could make it a total of $800 million, which is insane. I mean, it's more money than I think any human being actually needs. And by the way, the taxes in New York are going to knock that down to I think it was 417 or 418 million. Not that that matters by any means. But I don't know. It's insane, the numbers. And you remember, and this is going back a little bit, just to give you for context, I'm 31 years old. So I remember baseball a little bit differently. And the older, how money was controlled. And the way baseball worked, contracts were paid based on revenue the team was bringing in. But that's not how it's controlled anymore. When you have Guggenheim Partners, which owns the Dodgers, or you have Steve Cohen, who's a hedge fund guy for the Mets, it's no longer about revenue-based baseball. It's not. When you have $21 billion of your own net worth, you could literally just reach into your pocket and say, I'm going to pay, overpay for this guy. And it doesn't matter what the cost is because I'm paying for it out of my own pocket. If anyone has any questions or comments, drop them in the comments section. We'll discuss. But this is a ridiculous deal. And no, this has nothing to do with me being a Yankee fan. So anyone who writes comments and they're saying you're a sour Yankee fan, I don't care. Would it have been nice if he signed back with the Yankees? Of course. But the Steinbrenner family finally showing some discipline, not going to that $800 million total contract. That contract is going to suffocate you around the neck. Think about it. If we get 4 or 5, I know people are going to say, but Nick, you're fallacy of a predetermined outcome for looking ahead. Well, I do got to look ahead because what happens if he gets hurt or something happens and now you're stuck with this ridiculous contract? Now, Steve Cohen could just do what he does every year, just write everything off and be done with it. He can just pay it off and go after the next one. But the Yankees have now all this money, and I keep saying it. They go after Corbin Burns, go after Max Fried. Maybe they go after Pete Alonso, but I really don't see that being a fit in Yankee Stadium. He's not really a average hitter. He's a home run or strikeout hitter, and the Yankees have enough of those hitters already in their lineup. I could see them going after Alex Bregman, too. I think he'd be a perfect bat in Yankee Stadium. And they really need to look at that third base hole. Because I don't know if I'd keep Jazz Chisholm there. I would think about maybe moving him around the infield now that you're not re-signing Gleyber Torres. Put him at second base. And then either you trade for Nolan Arenado, or you bring in Alex Bregman, or you go get a first baseman, maybe get Goldie, Paul Goldschmidt, and put him in first. But it's just insane these numbers are getting thrown out. We're going to see $1 billion contract in the next couple of years. And it's all thanks to Scott Boras. Don't blame any other agent. Blame Scott Boras syndrome. BS. It's insane. It really is. Some other stuff that was being reported as well. The Red Sox deal or offer, per Sean McAdam, I think for Mass Live. The Red Sox last offer for Juan Soto was 15 years for $700 million. That was not going to get it done. We knew that. So, and now we're getting more details. More details. Oh, look who's here. Hello. What's going on?
Well, so nobody was here, so you kind of.
It's okay. I'm. There's plenty of material to react to.
Yeah.
So
I'll share my thoughts quickly.
I'll give you that one first. Go ahead.
Okay. I kind of had a feeling as time was going on that he was going to end up signing with the Mets. The longer that it was going on, the more reports that were coming out. It's a shame. I can't help but feel hurt as a Yankee fan, but at the same time, I'm also not surprised. I was a little shocked. I can't say that I was shocked given all the reports about it going up to the amount of figures that it was.
I'm surprised that Hal went up to the 760.
That's what I mean. Now, could they have done the elevators and everything to reach 800? Technically, yes, and this might be a bit of a take, and then maybe it'll sound bad if, the Mets end up in the World Series next year, but I think the decision by Hal and Cashman to not give him the elevators, even if it cost him, was the correct move.
Agreed. I'm with you on this one, and I just got new info from Feinsand. This is actually interesting. So Soto will earn a total of $305 million. This is brand new information. It just came out. Okay. So Soto will earn a total of $305 million during the first 5 years of the Mets deal. 200.
Now there's an opt-out I found out after that 5th year.
It says it here. So $220 million in salary and a $75 million signing bonus. That's an AAV of $61 million. He can opt out after 2029 unless the Mets raise his AAV over the final 10 years from $51 million to $55 million.
So basically almost like a Cole-style situation.
That's insane. So basically they're saying they have to raise it $4 million per year over the last 10 years?
Mm-hmm. And as far as our little debate in our Yankee spectrum about you're going to pay Soto more than Judge, who is your captain. To that end, I would say, and not just your captain, but your captain who's won the MVP 2 of the last 3 years, who's won a batting title, who has had over 100 plus home runs in the last few seasons. My answer would be yes, because number one, as the captain, you are supposed to be willing to let anything. Look at the days when you were younger. A-Rod made more money than Jeter.
I mentioned that when they were going over the $300 million deal, when the Yankees said, don't opt out, we're not talking to you if you do it. Well, guess what happened?
Right. But here's the other thing. Because us in the Yankee and New York and about comparing to Judge or comparing to what Alonso could get or comparing to Cole. Juan Soto is now making more money than Shohei Ohtani.
Well, you're talking about if the contracts were matched up. Technically,
if the contracts were matched up, given all the bonus potential and the max and the elevators, Juan Soto could be making if you match up everything, he is making more money than Shohei Ohtani. I'm sorry. That's where I got to say no. Soto should not be making more money than a guy who, keep in mind, with injury, has been playing like a god the last 3 seasons.
So according to the Players Association, I looked this up. What they're considering the AAV average value for the Ohtani deal, this I was kind of shocked. But it's $46 million a year is what they're considering the AAV value. I thought it was less, but apparently they couldn't void the tax as much as they wanted to.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you think Cohen's concerned about any sort of taxes?
Well, I started to say that earlier, that if you remember when we were younger baseball fans, how were contracts determined? Through revenue-based money. That's no longer the case with Guggenheim Partners and and Steve Cohen, and I'm sure there's a few others that are
And
owned by.
it'll be with Jeff Bezos that the rumors are he wants a baseball team come true.
He wants a football team also, but
Yeah.
I just
Now, yeah, I know. Now, as far as the Yankee end goes, because I saw a flash, I can't tell the banner about the potential other ideas that they have in mind with that money.
I gave a few. I think that
Well, but it goes back to something that I said even on our show. Just last year, before Juan Soto was even an option, remember that they got Oscar Gonzalez, and then they went and traded for Verdugo. Like, they had other ideas instead of playing the waiting game. This time around, now, granted, they got this done before the winter meeting. So, credit to the Yankees, credit to the Mets, credit to Soto and Bour. They got it done before all of the bigger fallout can happen. So, but now basically because the Yankees have waited, you are seeing other potential backup plans already start to go away.
Well,
Shane
Adames-
Bieber has Willie Adames, who signed that deal with the Giants. Shane Bieber, who got a 1-year deal, who took
Well,
another.
he was hurt. I think he was just going to go back and take a flyer deal anyway.
Understood, but I feel like the Yankees could have given him that
Agree.
flyer.
I'll give you that for sure.
And now actually, a little bit of breaking news that's fallen under the banner with all of this.
Okay.
Michael Conforto, a former Met, now has a new
Yeah.
home. $17 million. He's going to the Los Angeles Dodgers.
That's not a surprise. I mean, the Dodgers are now the Miami Heat of yonder, where everyone would just sign in LA, because basically what's happening with the Dodgers or the Mets are going to become a destination place probably now, just one because of Steve Cohen's deep pockets, but now that you have Juan Soto in Queens.
But now because the Yankees were held up on Soto, you lost those potential pieces.
Well,
you've lost Tyler O'Neill.
I don't think he was ever coming to New York, but
my point is, though, okay, you just lost Juan Soto. Time to get moving.
This is stupid. So ESPN just posted an Instagram video of Juan Soto in like a hot tub at the winter meetings, and I don't know whose Instagram account. Oh, it says Elian Soto. Is that one of his family members?
I guess.
And in the video, there's a Mets logo, and on the bottom it says "got his ass" with laughing emojis, Mets baby, and they're pouring champagne all over his head.
But you understand my point. It's that you've lost some potential options because you were so focused on Soto. Now that you know you've lost Soto to cash and Howell, yeah, maybe you got a pennant out of Soto, but now it's time to keep moving. You gotta make some moves within the next couple of days.
And what's funny is, like, because everything goes back to gambling just because of the odds and everything. So now I got a DraftKings alert that said, oh, the Mets are now plus 800 to win the World Series. Wait a minute. I'm not even talking about the World Series with the Mets. Like, we're not even at that discussion.
But, like, now the Red Sox have taken meetings with Corbin Burns and Max Fried. If I'm the Yankees, you need to land one of those guys.
I would go further. I would say you really got to make legitimate offers to try to get both.
Teoscar Hernandez prefers to stay with Dodgers. Guess what? I know, but you look at some of those other names that I've mentioned before, all outfielders. I think you've got to throw something to Teoscar.
Well, I was going to say, I don't know if they're going to have room with all this. They're going to have to tape the line somewhere. Are
you bringing Verdugo back for another season?
No. I'm talking about the Dodgers. Like, they're going to have to stop at some point.
I agree. So,
I would be happy if we got Teoscar.
But my point is, if you're saying that, then if you're the Yankees after losing Soto, you need to make a legitimate offer to try and grab Teoscar. You need to make a legitimate trade offer to the Cardinals to try and land Nolan Arenado and
or Goldie
or
Schmidt.
No, the closer. Halsey?
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. I'll look it up. But it's crazy.
Ryan Helsley.
Ryan Helsley. Yeah.
I think you gotta. I think you gotta throw a trade offer out there in order to try and grab, like you said, either Arenado or Goldie plus Helsley.
I do want to bring up one thing because I'm getting very annoyed about something on social media that Mets fans are doing. And it's this, which is what's really bugging me right now. And so Howie Rose, who I respect, by the way, as the radio voice of the Mets, came out and said, "This is perhaps the most unique moment in the history of the New York Mets. I told you from day one that Steve Cohen was not about to be the little brother in town. He was taking dead aim at the Yankees and everyone else. It's on."
Well, but now, first of all, I can't say they're the new big brother when the
Thank
Yankees
you.
when the Yankees just won a pennant and they lost in their league championships.
All of this is money right now to me.
Having said that, as I was referring to, it is now the onus is now on Cashman and Hal to respond.
I mean, for that $760 million that they were going to spend,
now you need. But that's what I'm saying. Now you need to make legitimate offers to Teoscar, to Corbin Burns, to Max Fried.
You could get all three with that money if you really wanted to. If you were going to spend it,
make a legitimate trade offer for Arenado. Try to see if you can counteract the 6 years, $156 million that the Astros just offered Alex Bregman to try and come over.
I don't even think he's worth that.
But my point is, you have all this money now. You have these holes you need to fill. You just lost Soto to your crosstown rival. You need to do something.
Agreed. But how do you come back from Steve Cohen offering potentially up to $805 million?
I don't think you can. But like you said, instead of taking that money now, and you were going to give to Soto, you have this money to use everywhere else. And actually, now that being said, all this talk about, we're trying to limit this limit payroll. The fact that you just offered that money to Soto, there's no more excuses. You have to do stuff in free agency.
Also, Blake Trinan was out on the market. He went to the Dodgers.
And now he's gone, right. But my point was, at some point last season, I think I remember it because I was going through our best stuff for clips. The Yankees had basically said, "Oh, we're concerned about payroll and trying to limit payroll." And I said it was all a negotiation ploy. Now that you said that, but did this, there's no excuse now in free agency. You got to be willing to build your team.
Well, here's the other scary thing that a lot of people are saying on socials. I'm scrolling through. You let him walk over $5 million?
It's not the $5 million, though.
No, but I'm just, forget the escalator clauses.
I understand what you're saying, but when you look at that, the escalator clauses plus the opt-out. So that way, because when I looked at the opt-out, if he opts out, he's going to be 31. He still will have one more free agency to get a legitimate big offer.
He probably could go get another 10-year deal off that.
Right. So
why not take the risk and just give him the opt-out? I mean, I don't know. It's silly, but I just...
But again, it goes back to something you said, that I think we're dealing, and baseball's dealing with a new animal. Someone that if the Yankees win, let's say the Yankees did that and offered that, I guarantee you Cohen would have said, "Fine, I'm just going to make $800 million the base."
Oh, you think it was just going to be a game of chicken?
Yeah, exactly. And when you're dealing with somebody like Cohen, you're going to lose.
But the weird thing is, it took until now to finally hear what Cohen was doing, because we didn't hear a peep out of the Mets side, which was the most confusing thing of this whole matter.
But you understand my point, that I think, unfortunately, right now, I know I disagree with that comment too about this, but the Mets with Cohen are going to be a different animal compared to the past. Just simply because this is a man, he's the new George. Here you go.
It's a good point.
But now that brings another question that everyone seems to be forgetting. Does this now mean the Mets are out on Alonso?
Well, okay, that's another thing I was starting to say, that Alonso wants what, 200, 250, or 3? I even heard 3.
To spend $1 billion on 2 players?
First of all, Alonso's not Alonso was legitimately not worth 200, 250.
But actually, then that goes to something, we joked about it, but now it's legitimate too. Could the Yankees go and throw money at Pete Alonso to get a first baseman?
The problem is, I look at Alonso and I see Stanton. From the standpoint of when he deteriorates,
it's bad. I know.
Where are you going to put him?
First base.
Well, no, but he's
in the lineup.
Well, okay, but I was going to say eventually he's going to be a DH. It's going to be another mess. You got to deal with.
I understand, but I still think even despite the good season that he had last season, once the Yankees have the ability to get out of that Stanton contract after another 2 seasons, they're going to get out of that contract.
I mean, Brandon Cuddy also said, if you're a Yankee fan, do you have to wonder how much Juan Soto valued remaining a Yankee if the money was this close at the end?
And that's the other thing. We talked about that too. We just talked about it a couple hours ago, Nick. If the money is this close, if he really wanted to be a Yankee, he would have taken the pinstripes.
No, that's a good point. I mean, I was talking about the Red Sox offer just because that's the only other one that came out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I have it here. It was 15 years, $700 million. I don't think they were ever a legitimate contender.
Not.
And by the way, high-talking, fast-talking Toronto. Never heard a peep out of Toronto in this whole thing. I find it funny every time we see these names.
I think that goes more to the report from the Rockies owner and what you said a couple of days ago about that he wanted to remain on the East Coast so that way it was an easier trip home. I think Toronto is East Coast, but I think being in the U.S., being in New York, it's just more convenient.
So listen to these numbers because I found this insane. So I have to give credit just so I don't misspeak here. Sam Block apparently works for ESPN. So it says, get your kid to play baseball. Now listen to these numbers.
Yeah.
It starts with Bryce Harper, $330 million. Fernando Tatis, $340 million. Lindor, $341. Machado, $350. Aaron Judge, $360. Mookie Betts, $365. Mike Trout, $426.5 million. Ohtani, $700 million. Juan Soto, $765. Think about that.
Yeah. I mean, this is also where the debates will start up again about, does baseball need a cap? Does it need a floor?
Well, let's talk about that for a second, because we are going to talk about that on our next episode. But like, there's going to have to be salary cap at some point.
But I think it's too late for that.
I mean, the next contract, especially if it's a Boris client, is going to be $1 billion contract.
I know, but I'm saying I think it's a little too late for that, because look at all the money. That's going to end up being a fight. That's going to end up with if they go to war over that, I don't blame them, but that will end up being the season would be canceled at that point.
So, but then what's the point of having a luxury tax?
Well, the point of, and that's where the floor argument is. The point of it is it's supposed to take that money and spread it to other owners. The problem is when you've got an owner like
who's
Fisher,
dipping into his own fund.
You've got an owner like Fisher. You got an owner like in Pittsburgh, you got an owner like the Marlins, a team like the Marlins who don't actually use that money and instead put that money into their pockets. And that's where the problem is.
Oh, Bob nutting. Yeah.
But you see my point. And this goes back to when we were a 3-man show. You would argue cap, he would argue floor. I say
you need both.
Both.
No, I said it to you the other day. I agree. We need both. You can't, if you pick one or the other, someone's going to be pissed off. Like, because if you take a cap, the owners are going to be happy. If you take the floor, the owners are going to be happy. But I don't know what you do, because
I don't know what there is to do, unless, like I said, unless the two sides go to war and we lose another baseball season for it.
Well, every time a war happens, the owners are going to win. Every time. It's just what happens because they control. But they're taking money out of their own pocket every time they do that. And I don't know if they want to do that again.
Fair.
But I'm not shocked that he went to the Mets. I'm shocked at the number.
The number, yeah. Like, if you told me he was going to be paid more than than Judge, fine. If you're telling me now he's going to be paid more than Shohei Ohtani, I know Soto was 4 years younger, but given everything Ohtani has done think about it. In this last season alone, joined the 40-40 club, made a whole new club for himself in the 50-50 club, and got a World Series ring. I'm sorry, no. He does not deserve to be paid more than Shohei.
Okay, so according to Andy Martino, this is when we first heard that the deal was going to happen tonight, and for the first time he was actually right, because usually he's a gas bag. So he's quoted as saying the Mets were dead in the water at about 3 p.m. Eastern time today. This was going nowhere. Momentum was with the Yankees, and it picked up late, and it picked up fast.
Cohen got desperate.
Well, Cohen opened up the checkbook, as we like to say,
which is why I said, if the Yankees were willing to match the Mets' offer, I think Cohen would have gone a full $800 million. He wanted Soto in the worst way.
I mean, it's going to go on the cap for the team, but is it really on the cap when he can really pay for it? That's the legitimate thing here. Like.
I know what you mean.
Like I'm like quickly scurrying because I'm seeing all these reactions. But it's a lot of money. And my question is this going to cause everything at Citi Field to go up in value? Or
of course.
Or is Steve Cohen going to say, hey, I paid for it. I'm not going to throw it on the fans to pay extra money for it?
Well, if you look on Twitter right now, the expectation is that it's going to end up on the fans.
Which is insane, considering it has $21 billion in current value. I mean, I have no idea. This is just... I mean, Mets fans are happy. Yankee fans are not. Well, let me take that back. I don't know if Yankee fans are completely mad that he's gone.
I'm not completely mad. Like I said, it's not the Judge with the Soto pay argument that gets me. It's paying Soto more than Shohei Ohtani. As I was saying, paying him more than Ohtani after Ohtani also was a 2-time MVP in the last few seasons, also made a whole club for himself, and has a World Series ring to show for it. Sorry, no.
If he won the World Series with the Yankees, I'm wondering if this would be a different discussion, or if that $5 million difference would have come into play. That's coulda, woulda, shoulda. Yeah. But so Greg Amsinger just said on the MLB Network set that Aaron Judge just lost the greatest wingman of his career. I think we're stretching a little bit here.
I think I see what he means, though. Because here's the expectation now. Yeah, you lost Soto. That means Stanton has to have another season like he. If he does not have it, if he reverts back to old Stanton, there's a chance this team falls back to where it was a couple of seasons ago.
Well, and let's not be naive, but Soto really elevated Stanton's bat because he got to see more pitches up there. And I'm just like,
that's why I'm saying I'm not completely disappointed, but and I understand the decision of Hal and Cashman, but chop. It's time to get moving.
Can we not leave everybody on the table? I mean,
let's get some deals done these next few days.
I mean, some of these tweets are outrageous. So Chris Kirshner, who covers the Yankees for The Athletic, if Soto had re-signed with the Yankees, I pre-wrote all of the leaderboards. He would have been near the top by the time his contract ended. Soto's name would have been next to all-time greats Ruth, Mantle, Gehrig, DiMaggio. I mean, can we stop? Like, we don't know that. Nobody knows that. I think that's a stretch, trying to say that he's going to be an all-time great with the Yankees when we have no idea.
I mean, I think he's going to be a phenomenal player when it comes to just MLB in general.
He's also going to a bigger stadium.
Well, I'm just saying, not just given what he's done in New York this last season, though. I'm also talking about given his few seasons in San Diego, what he did in Washington. Like, he's had a hell of a career for the short time he's been in MLB.
Right. There was also another speculation that Cohen and Starnes were kind of against this playbook, so to speak. Like, Starnes was more the strategic free agent guy, and Cohen was going to use the checkbook.
I was going to say, but it's easy for him to say that when he's not the one with the checkbook. Steve Cohen has the checkbook.
I mean, do I agree partially with Starnes in that regard that you have to be careful the way you spend the money?
Of course.
But here's the issue. Going back to having Cohen, having the Guggenheim partners and all that stuff.
Who's in control?
Yes, exactly. So what's the point of having a GM if your owner's going to drunkenly spend money?
That reminds me of a certain GM in the NFL.
Well, yes. But my point is, what are you supposed to do? Like, Starnes was brought in to be a young, brilliant GM to shape this team. But if Cohen's going to say, look, I'm going to literally take $800 million and I'm going to drop it on the table and say, here you go.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to burn $800 million to get Juan Soto. That might be a little harsh. But my point is, I don't care what you say. I'm shoving my $800 million to the table like poker chips on a poker table. And if it gets me the player, great. If not, who knows? But
I'll throw this money out somewhere else.
I mean, I think Soto was always going to the highest bidder. Anyone who said that he was going to go to the Yankees because he was just happy being there, I think that was a load of shit.
Well, has never dealt with a Steve Cohen client before. I mean, not a Steve Cohen, a Scott Boras client before.
Scott Boras is always going to destroy the sport of baseball, and he's the one who's going to cause. I can't believe I'm saying this, but he's the one who's going to cause a lockout, a lockout or a strike. Actually, it would probably be it'd be a lockout, right? Not a strike.
Lockout. A lockout is owner driven. A strike is player driven.
Yeah, the next lockout is going to be because of Scott Boras, and he's going to be like, "But what do you mean? I'm just doing my job, getting the players the most amount of money I can." Yeah, but Scott, you're destroying the sport.
Mm-hmm. Oh, by the way. You probably missed the Sunday Night Football ending, but
I saw the Chiefs actually came back and won, right?
Chiefs field goal. They were down by 1. They had a last second field goal. It doinked off one of the goal posts and still went through. Nick? What did I say? Deus ex machina.
I mean, there's the Chiefs no cover for you that everyone said.
Every week it's Deus ex machina. They find a BS way to win the game.
Oh, man. By the way, I think Jeff Passan's going to get very tired over the next day or two, just showing up on every show.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I have to ask you, speaking of MLB Insider and Nick D, and I think, I don't know who's doing the show with him this week. I think it's, but I heard on Moving the Goalpost, he's going to do the incident that happened on WFAN with John Heyman. Did you see it?
That was ridiculous.
I know Keith just from he used to be on John Boy's stuff.
I was gonna say Keith was being sarcastic or funny.
Absolutely, right? He was being sarcastic. Absolutely, but John Heyman is a little bit on the old-fashioned style side of journalism, as you like to say, and he got annoyed. He didn't like
the joke.
Come on, the arson judge thing is always going to be there every single time.
It's his thing.
That's what Keith said on air.
He screwed up the name. He screwed up the name and put out a false report. Unfortunately, you know he wants to talk about old school journalism. Unfortunately, guess what? When you make a big screw up like that and say Aaron Judge is going to the Giants instead of signing with the Yankees, guess what? Especially in a day and age of social media, it lives forever.
Well, now everything lives forever in the digital age of everything. But what I will say, though, is I think Keith might have been, what's that saying where you're pushing the envelope sometimes a little?
Too much. He didn't know when to stop.
Yeah, and I mean, I know FAN, like it's very like Geo in the morning and Keith at night. It's very like it's not like you're not going there for sports talk as much anymore. It's more like clown show, joke. And what really surprised me, and since John Heyman likes to talk about professionalism, he hung up on Keith in the middle of the interview.
And he basically said he wouldn't work with WFAN ever again.
I mean, he had a full deal with Odyssey. I mean, he was on 670 The Score in Chicago. I mean, I'm sure he's being paid. I don't see him. I'm checking his Twitter account, by the way, right now, just because I want to see if he was too quick to something. But I think he actually got the tweet out this time without any issues. Yeah. Oh, so he had the break. I don't know who officially had it first. I think it was Passon, but I'm not sure. I want to know who gets like who Boris or whoever is talking to first.
I have no idea.
That's got to be fun. Say, oh, I have the news for Juan Soto, but the $5 million is where I kind of have the issue still. Where now I'm still trying to find more details on the Yankee contract that they were offering because it was 16 years from the Yankees. So obviously the years did not matter.
No.
I hate when people say, "Oh, well, just throw him another year."
I guess it didn't matter in this case.
It's the same money. So why does he care if it's one extra year or not? Took a 15-year deal for $765, but it's going to be interesting to see what the Yankees do. I'm more surprised at the fact that when we saw the $600 million deals come out and you heard, oh, well, the Yankees are climbing up. Then they went to like 650, 660. Then they went to 700. And people were surprised. And then we hear they're in the $710 to $730 million playground with the Mets. Like, did Hal forget that like he was not spending on big name players and just like, oh, I have to have him back?
But that's why I said, I understand being smart and not overpaying for guys. Like you were concerned about the price that the Astros just threw out for Bregman. But to do this after 6 months ago saying you were looking to limit payroll, now there's no excuse to not get anything done in free agency.
Right. And it's going to be interesting now to see the contracts under Soto. Because now that Soto is...
Now all the pieces are going to fall.
Because we already saw quite a few of them fall, like Trennan and who else was off the market? I saw quite a few.
O'Neill.
Well, that was before Soto. I'm trying to see if I can find quickly any other deals. Yeah. No deferred money. That was obvious. Boris was not going to accept it. That's another thing. There's no deferred money in this contract.
Yeah.
So he's getting his money in 15 years, whether he likes it or not. Well, whether Steve Cohen likes it or not. Not that he really cares.
Juan Soto will have 5 years left on his deal when they stop paying Bobby Bonilla.
I don't know why that's always funny to me. The $75 million signing bonus, though. Hey, Merry Christmas. Here's $75 million.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what? Can you imagine just, like, getting a check from Steve Cohen that says, here you go, happy bonus, $75 million.
I'll take it.
Well, yeah, obviously. But the wrinkle, like we said, is the last 5 years of the deal having to raise the AAV value up $4 million. Mm-hmm. That one I've never heard. That's a first. Like, that's really messing with contract language, which is what Boris is doing now. But I hope the Yankees get like 5 or 6 players with that money now. Like, and if we find out in the next week that Max Fried and Corbin Burns are all on different teams, there's gonna be shit to pay from Hal if we don't make any moves.
That's exactly what I was saying. Cashman and Hal will have things to answer to if they'll have people to answer to if they don't make any moves after offering all this money.
And people, and like now, Teoscar Hernandez is now trending all over Twitter right now.
That might be the Yankee best option to get another outfielder.
Some people, like someone just wrote, it's funny in a gift, the New York Yankees and Teoscar Hernandez an agreement on a 6-year, $130 million deal. That would be hilarious. It's a lot of money.
But it's realistic.
You're right. That is technically realistic. I'd rather they go out and get pitching first, but
both. You need both.
But you need both. But
you need both, and you need a first baseman.
Well, with Rizzo being gone now, which they couldn't hold on to him anymore.
No, I'm fine with moving on from Rizzo and Torres.
Me too.
And actually, because Soto is now gone, there was no excuse to hold on to Rizzo and Torres.
Well, that's true because they just were not pieces of the puzzle anymore either. I think Gleyber Torres was going to end up somewhere else, though. But I don't know. Watch, he's going to end up with the Mets. Imagine. I mean, Anthony Santander was another name.
I'd be cool with him. And honestly, he has played really well the last few seasons.
He has. He's played really well. But will he produce away from Camden Yards? Camden Yards is a really great ballpark, but Yankee Stadium might help him too. Is he a lefty or a righty? I don't even remember. I can try and look it up.
I used to know it off the top of my head, and for some reason I can't figure it out off the top of my head anymore. He is that's right. I actually was right. He's a switch.
That's why he's so valuable, because you can put him anywhere in the lineup, number one. And if I'm not mistaken, he could play multiple positions, right?
Right field. I think he can dabble in left field too.
Okay, so another statement from Jeff Passan on ESPN. In the end, I think Juan Soto looked at the Mets' future and looked at the Yankees' future and decided he thought the Mets' future was better. What? What?
I get your what? It's like I get it both ways. Because now, it's funny. I get it both ways, but yet it's because of Soto I'm saying to Cashman now, okay, what's your next move? Because if Cashman and Hal don't make a move, like you said, about answering to this team, and Stanton goes back to his old form, this Yankees team could very well go back to missing the playoffs.
I see a report, and I know this guy just because I remember him, Thomas Harding, who covers the Rockies. This was back from December 6th, but I think it's important now. The Rockies are in the market for second baseman, and one name to watch, according to the sources, Thairo Estrada, who had a productive season 22-23 before battling injuries. Feinsand said the Yankees are also among those teams having discussions with Estrada. It says he played for New York in 2019-2020. I didn't know that. Did you?
Oh, sorry.
Thairo Estrada.
You mean the Yankees or Mets when you say New York?
It just says New York, according to Feinsand.
Yeah, he was a Yankee.
Shows you how much
He was... Did he play in the major? He went up and down a lot between the Yankees and the Rail Riders.
Oh, he was what they called on the bus?
Yeah, and then he got DFA'd in 21 after they got Odor.
So I just find this funny the way Feinsand just wrote this tweet. If the Mets wind up voiding the opt-out after 2029, you're not voiding an opt-out. Give me a break. I mean, come on. Like, you're not voiding an opt-out. You're going to raise it $4 million a year. Let's just be real. Like, now this is how desperate you were to bring him in. Now you're stuck with all the escalator clauses you have to pay. Like, this guy is, I mean, I'll give you another one just because this deal broke when we were not on show. We're going to talk about it too in more detail. But look at Luis Severino, who just signed an insane deal with the Athletics. Yeah. Like, 3 years, $67 million with the Athletics of all teams.
Mm-hmm.
Is that show? I mean, do you think that's a definition of the pitching market, though, or no?
Probably at least to a degree.
Because Luis Severino is not worth what, 23+ million a year?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I said to you right now, including this deal, if I said to you Luis Severino is going to have $130 million in the bank, what would you say to me?
Again, it goes to what I told you, that I think that we're talking about Severino, right?
Yeah. They said by the time this deal is over, if he makes it through all the way, he would have $130 million made in his career.
Okay, it goes back to what I told you before. I think, is paying him all that money asinine? Debatable, considering some of our own experience of him, but I told you what the method to the madness the A's have.
Oh, wait. Feinsand pulled a Heyman.
Why?
Because he just quote tweeted over that tweet I read to you that he was going to earn $305 million for the first 5 years. He said that should read $230 million through the first 5 years.
Oops.
Plus the $75 million signing bonus.
Oops.
So it's not.
Okay.
It's not all salary.
Okay. Well, my point on the Severino thing is, again, it goes back to what I said about the A's. That
Yes.
I think the A's paid him all that money, so that way, through some means at the trade deadline, they can acquire better prospects.
Right.
I don't think
agree.
the A's are going anywhere. I don't think the A's are going anywhere. They'll just sign some talent as a little bit of overpays and say, hey, we'll help, retain some of the salary, but instead of your random number off the top of my number 21 prospect, we want your number 13.
Yeah. No, I get that. And also, you have all this ridiculousness now that the Mets signed Soto. They're going to get whatever, was it, draft picks or compensatory picks from the Mets. And also the other name that's out there, I'm gonna butcher his name, but Roki Sasaki. Is that how you say his name?
Oh, the Japanese pitcher is going to be posted.
So it says he, is expected to be officially posted at the winter meetings, opening a 45-day window Tuesday that will allow him to sign after January 15th. So, this is funny. I have to put this comment up. Boston's cooked.
Yeah. He's not wrong.
Do we really think they were in it?
You know that
I saw Ben tweeting about it. Ben Cruz, by the way, was our Red Sox fan.
No. You know that meme, the Bart Simpson meme with the cake? You tried.
Yes,
yeah, that's the Red Sox.
You
tried.
I like the other one where what is the Simpson one where they throw it in the trash can?
That's the cake. Yeah.
Oh, is that the cake? Okay, yeah. You tried.
Oh no, I know what you're going to go with. I think he.
Oh, that's a good comment. This is actually I agree with. LOL. I'll be honest, guys. Think about this. This helped
the Red Sox.
I agree because it's the Yankee theory. Basically, that they go out and get 5 guys for that money.
The Yankees and Red Sox can now go spread that money elsewhere. But I know the one that you were talking about. Boston doesn't have Soto in the AL. Mets still need to try and be.
This is the smartest. This is the smartest thing I've heard so far today.
That it is actually so true, and that's why actually helps the thing how we talked about before, how desperate Cohen probably was, is that they just came. Nobody expected the Mets to do anything, and they just had such a surge of momentum. They needed a move like Soto to say, okay, now we can battle the Dodgers. We can get the pen. Because now here's my question. And I think Red and you will probably agree with me, Nick. Now that they got Soto and they have all this money invested in Soto, it's the same argument that we made with Ohtani. Now the Mets got to win a series. They got to win probably 2 series.
Let's see. So, let's do the math. So 15 years, I'm going to call it $800 million just for round numbers. So what is 800 million. 800 divided by 15 is
53 and a third.
Okay. So 53 million. So 15 years. I would say they got to win at least 2 or 3 in that 15
So
years.
then, like Ohtani with the Dodgers, like we just said.
But how long is Ohtani's contract? 12, 13 years?
Is it 12 or 13? No, it's 10.
Oh, it's 10. So see, that's even different.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. This will mean that Boston needs to make a trade for something
like Bellinger, Sasaki.
Well, Sasaki's getting posted, so that wouldn't be a trade.
I think the Yankees and Red Sox are now in the same situation, basically.
So the Ohtani deal is better, in my opinion, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Because,
but again, I don't know if really giving Soto a contract.
Sorry, he was just corrected. Yeah,
we knew what you meant. We knew.
But the one thing I will say, and Keith McPherson, who we were talking about before, posted a video. So he just put a compilation video up of Soto, but for defense, because his defense was a struggle out there right field.
Well, again, I really don't know if giving him all that money. It goes back to what I said. If we're comparing somebody in the New York, like Judge and Soto or Alonso, and so I think that's one thing. But Shohei Ohtani, who's now basically taken over as the face of baseball, I don't know if I don't know about.
Just wait till he's back on the mound pitching,
right?
Which is a little scary to think about. Now, the other thing I was going to say, because this contract is so obscene at 800 million, actually 805 million, if we really want to get technical, do we have to put like Juan Soto behind the glass do not break in case of an emergency? That is a long comment.
Soto's defense was cheeks, and also his arm was bad, also never stole base. They paid for dollar per at-bat and home runs, hits, and RBI. He plays every game. That's the good thing about Soto.
The one thing I would debate in this comment is clutchness in the playoffs. Like, he really brought that. That's why he got the money, I think.
It wasn't the best. It wasn't the best. But in defense to that, Nick, when we say it wasn't the best, our captain, Mr. Big Man.
He shrunk smaller than Mini-Me out there.
That's the problem, is that Judge continuously disappears in the playoffs.
And that's the issue. Like, you paid him, you had to pay him. And that other comment actually makes sense too. You need to make the playoffs first. Because I wouldn't say it's a given that they make the playoffs.
Right. But again, that's why I'm saying about Hal. That's why I'm saying about Cashman. And that's why I'm saying about the Red Sox. Now it's time for you guys to go and make other moves. Because if the Red Sox and Yankees, Nick, don't make moves after all this negotiating, throwing all this money out at Soto, then who knows? Then maybe the Red Sox, this little stretch of suffering continues on longer. Or the Yankees regress back to the 2023 state.
Well, that I'm more worried about than anything. But now that you don't have a protection hitter for Judge is going to get walked around again.
That's what I'm worried about.
So what do you do? Like I said, you have to go out and get Teoscar Hernandez. It's not the same thing.
Actually, Red makes another good point. It wasn't until the Dodgers got Ohtani that, like they had Scherzer, Trey Turner, Mookie, Freeman, and other than, the COVID-shortened season, every time they would continuously fall short. Continuously.
The one thing I will say is the difference, and this comment of just saying that Scherzer and Trey Turner and Mookie and Freeman, the difference is when you have an endless supply of cash flow, that makes it easier to go out. These guys, I don't know if you saw the reports and the rumors earlier in the day or a couple days ago when he met with the Dodgers, they were saying it would be Ohtani, Soto, Mookie, and Freddie Freeman. That would have been insane. in the Dodger lineup. That almost would have not been pitchable. Almost. So that's why I'm saying his comment is right, 100%. But it helps when you have an endless supply of cash flow and you have a investment firm instead of an owner. Because some of these teams, they're not owners anymore. They're investment groups. And I can even go outside the sport to prove this too. Look at the Commanders. It's an investment group. I'm trying to think who else that really falls under, but you're not going to see real owners. You're never going to see a Mark Cuban again.
Well, you made that comment the other day.
And why am I forgetting his name again? The Clippers owner. I keep forgetting.
Oh, Ballmer,
who I like, by the way, because he reminds me a little bit of Mark Cuban, because he'll sit behind the seats where all the guys are sitting. In reality, I'm not mad. I'm a Mariners fan. Interesting.
Yeah, I feel bad for you guys because you guys have all this talent, and it was hard to see.
You made your signing too.
Yeah,
I kind of feel bad because he's not going to be able to go anywhere in that organization really anymore.
My point being, again, because I need to get going, so I need to wrap myself up.
Yeah.
Okay. Just given Soto's contract, now he's going to be making more than Shohei Ohtani, who's
that's insane.
Like that, exactly. It's insane. He is making more money than the two best players in Major League Baseball in Judge and Ohtani. And I'm not saying Soto's not a top player. He's probably top 5, top 3, but it's still kind of asinine. But having said that, now the onus is on everybody else. And I'm looking at you, Hal. I'm looking at you, Cash.
Well, don't expect Cashman to do anything because he certainly will not.
I know, but my point is, like this comment, I say no, but it's time to do something. It's time to make a response.
Unless you're speaking out and saying, I made an offer to Fried and I made an offer to Burns, I made an offer to Teoscar Hernandez.
That's the thing. I understand. We just talked about with like the Yankees' old practices. Like they didn't actually make an offer to Machado or to Harper back in the several years ago. But to make that comment 6 months ago about we're limiting payroll, but then throw all this money out there is hypocritical.
Of course it is, because you kept saying, "Oh, we're the big bad Yankees, but we're not going to spend." First of all, you're not the big bad Yankees anymore. I don't want to hear that because you're refusing to spend money. The big bad Yankees would have competed until someone got knocked out.
Oh, this is what it's about the Mariners. Yeah, we just traded away Luis Castillo for Bellinger and got Horner and.
That's good. Oh man.
All right, I have to get going. So
one last thing. Talking Yanks just posted because John Boy did a video.
Yeah.
And it says, "Don't call the Yankees cheap for their offer to Soto." I kind of agree.
I agree. But like I just said, now instead of holding on to this money and saying, we're going to limit our payroll, blah, blah, blah. It's time to go out. Make a legitimate offer to Corbin Burns. Make a legitimate offer to Teoscar Hernandez. Make a legitimate offer to Max Fried. Make a legitimate trade offer to the Cardinals for Helsley and Arenado. Like, do something. All right, I got to get going.
Well, okay. One last thing, I promise. Okay, sorry. No, because it just came to me as you were saying it. Do you see Steve Cohen playing this mind game now that he's beaten the Yankees once and just say, I'm just going to put out $5 million more.
And it goes to what Red is saying here. And
we're wrapping it up after this.
Well, it goes to what I said earlier in the show. I think if they offered $5 million more, I think Cohen would have given the $800 million flat. I think he would have. To that man, money's no object.
It's a toy.
I mean, yeah. Money is a toy to him. It's just, hey,
Oh, it's just the.
yeah.
I mean, all right.
Like I said, and then on the Mets end, I'm very curious to see what's going to happen now with Pete Alonso.
Right. We'll talk more about this on the last episode of the year. I saw that.
Yeah, the last episode of the year, which airs
261.
Wednesday. Yep, which airs Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific.
Yeah, tune in. It's our last episode of the year. Then we go on the
wait
break.
a minute. Is this true?
Wait, whoa, hold on. Now, oh, great. Now he's gonna make us do work here. Let's find out.
No, not.
Oh, he's saying
that's going to be next.
They should trade and make room. Vientos is a good player. By the way, for Mets fans, Vientos is a really good player. I was going to say, don't scare me like that.
Yeah, don't scare. But he's not wrong. I could very well see that happening next.
I think Vientos is going to be an amazing young player, like the Yankees had Judge in their system.
Mm-hmm.
Vientos finally coming up. His defense sucks and his arm is weak. Oh God, that's what he just wrote in the comments. Right. But Vientos is going to be a good player. They're going to be able to keep him for cheap because they brought him up in the farm system. Oh, look. I subscribed. See you all soon. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right. Time for me to get out of here. So
all right. Well, I'm going to leave too. So just make sure you tune in Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern when we drop episode 261. We're going to put a bow on 2024, as scary as that sounds.
Mm-hmm.
So for Tom, I'm Nick Morganson. We'll see you on Wednesday. Have a good night, everybody.
Night all.